in this match today were at one time Najin players. Smeb is the only exception.
Well, pretty comfortable to say a Najin victory looks likely in one way or the other, Doa.
Yeah, it's really looking at that way. There's a Yasuo ban against KOO again. Najin just really not wanting to deal with that, apparently.
And remember, KOO's ace in the hole. KOO's first pick was Lucian, and Lucian was thoroughly outplayed by Ashe in the laning phase.
Yeah.
Picking for Prey in particular with your first pick, a player who's been a decent role player this season, but far and away from his carry status of the spring season, is already a bit questionable to me. Let's see another 80 carry ban. Of course, Kalista just banned away as a pretty auto ban. And we continue with the Kennen support bans. No Kennen support today.
The Alistar ban coming in against Pure as well, too, really targeting him. And I wonder, that's going to put it seems like it would put a big priority on the Annie, wouldn't it?
Does seem to. When you look at his champion pool, he was 10-6, now 11-6 on the Alistar. The other most played is Kennen. Only really Annie is left in terms of big power picks for Pure regularly this season. I don't know if we're going to see a first rotation or maybe just something different from Pure.
Wow, the Shen banned out as well. So the Elise still available for that first pick, and I think if you're Najin, you absolutely go for that.
Watch has played a lot of the Elise, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it.
Yep. And I mean, you know that OQ is perfectly comfortable playing Ashe instead of the Lucian. It's not a big deal. They do go for the Elise first.
The power of a champion like Elise is that she obviously ganks lanes very well, but she skirmishes very well around Dragon.
Yeah.
And KOO Tigers, the only game plan they've had that's been successful this season. Remember, Juggermore hasn't been working for them. Getting to late game is often very difficult for them because they really struggle in the laning phase. They're all about specifically rotating around objectives like dragons or playing those corky Trinity Force power spike comps and taking down turrets. So if you have such a strong ganking jungler like Elise that can really control that dragon pick, of course can almost solo it from level 3-4 with Spiderling tankings, any advantages to push the KOO Tigers away from dragon control, pretty much at this point in the season for Najin, cements another victory over KOO.
Now this is interesting, because Najin in the first game banned Yasuo, Kennen, Victor. This time they banned Yasuo, Kennen, Azir, so it does leave that Victor open for the KOO Tigers. I suppose they're probably wanting to leave that open for themselves in case the Elise was banned out. Does that sound logical to you?
It does sound logical. It's a big price to pay just because Kuro 8-2, of course, was undefeated on Victor until very late in the season. But the second pick they give away is the Lucian, which... And again, Prey, excellent Corki player, excellent Sivir player. Now, Sivir has seen, the weight of nerfs at this point, especially with the 515 ultimate nerf, now maybe pushing her out of competitive viability. They could have just gone for a different champion, just left the Corki up for a later rotation. Maybe just pick the jungler, because, of course, don't have to worry about anything in that regard. But instead, they really prioritize this Lucian. And Ashe is still available. And in general, KOO Tigers, they're not a 2v2 lane-dominant team.
And later on in team fights, it just doesn't seem like Prey is up to the mechanics that Lucian requires right now. The Gnar pick would be pretty logical coming in. And an early pick TF, that would be a bit surprising. They're going to go for it. Wow, picking the solo lanes very early this time.
So ban Yasuo, one of the best laning counters to TF. But early picking it is super risky. Now, of course, he knows he's going to be against Victor, so the matchup's just fine. They both have good line wave clear, but this is what Najin did last game. They early picked the Ashe, and they said, okay, KOO, what are you going to pick to punish this pick? And the KOO Tigers had no answer. Now we have another squishy, usually backline mage. Will KOO Tigers finally pick some backline threat? Because that's not their MO. Remember, they're a rumble rotate comp, not really a dive the backline kind of team.
By picking this Gnar early, though, it does kind of rule out the rumble to a certain extent, so I do get that. So, I mean, these picks do make sense. We'll see what KOO can do to try to, excuse me, to try to counter it. Now, Annie actually falling pretty far down the draft, surprisingly.
I really do like backline threat against a squishy champion like TF. We're probably going to see some semblance of hyper carry from OQ, so...
Ooh, Maokai? Really? Really?
Malphite.
Malphite? That's what I meant. Mal something. Malphite.
Wow.
Locked in. That's going to be a Malphite top.
And this is the opposite of what we expect from Smeb. We expect him on the lane dominating champions like the Riven. Of course, Malphite can go even in many, many lanes, but... This is our first Malphite of the season as far as I know. It might actually force OQ away from a champion like Vayne. Now, with the Twisted Fate blind pick, remember, Twisted Fate one of the best champions to deal with Vayne in a team fight because of the Destiny reveal. So it would have been safe to go for the Vayne, if not for a champion like Malphite. Suddenly now, you're biting off a lot if you choose any champion without an escape.
Well, Malphite does create a lot of danger for an Ashe to be played. So I do see it as sort of a counter to that. That makes a lot of sense with the ultimate and with Alistar already being banned. If you pick Corki, who can get away with Valkyrie, and you pick a disengaged support like Nami, it could certainly handle it
Flashing the Soraka. Don't think we're going to see a Soraka.
Corky, Annie seems good. Yeah, okay, they're going to lock that one in.
You see Malphite, a champion that loves to stack armor, and you pick an all magic damage comp, apparently, if you're Naj in the Empire.
Yep, it makes sense. And what's the AD carry, or not the AD carry, what's the jungler presumably going to be? Probably Rek'Sai. Yeah, can you think of a reason to pick something other than Rek'Sai here?
I'm just not inspired by any of the options, really. What does Malphite contribute to this team comp? The laning phase is going to be fine, of course, can stack armor against Gnar. Gnar, we might actually see Duke. I believe, was it Duke that actually debuted the Blade the Ruin King top? No, it might have actually been Duke, from memory.
It might have been. I'm not going to commit because I can't remember for sure, but it might have been. Either way, that is something that you could see. And what about a lane swap from Najin?
Yeah, lane swap will be fine. Malphite, again, he can navigate most situations, but just a melee champion last hitting at turret. It is going to be Rek'Sai. I wouldn't be surprised to see the W max, because W does magic damage, so you can just free auto attack the melee ranged Malphite and do that magic damage, stop him from itemizing into the armor early at least. KOO Tigers, lots of backline threat with the Malphite, but nothing that really synergizes with that, because remember, Victor kind of has to flash to get in range of the backline, because he's just normally that medium to short range mage.
I feel like it's going to be very hard for Gorilla to not get blown up by Goong later on in the game, and we know how good Goong's TF can be, so it might be a little bit tough for KOO Tigers. But you got to wonder if Smeb can make big plays on this Malphite, if he can get a lot of knockups with that ultimate, see things turn around.
I feel like it's definitely going to follow a similar kind of pace as the last game. If KOO Tigers can this time get the control around Dragon, force Najin to be face-checking the likes of a Malphite, sure, they could be a win for KOO. They still need to focus on controlling the Dragon objective, and that's difficult when you've got powerful ganking champions like Twisted Fate, Elise, and Anada gank for. There is a lot of strong pressure from Najin early, but the laning phases might be a struggle.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, just mechanically, Najin has been better lately, so it seems like they've got the edge on paper going into it. But once you get on the Rift, it's all up to the players themselves. Najin looking for the 2-0, a strong showing to move into the playoffs, into their match, theoretically, against CJ, if they can take it. Let's see, though, if KOO can tie things up. It's time to get in the game. All right, welcome once again to Summoner's Rift. The KOO Tigers fighting for their lives against Najin. KOO Tigers, a loss here would mean the end of their season. They'll be back for the Worlds qualifiers, but summer season would be over for the KOO Tigers if Najin get their second win here in this game.
And our big question is, what's the story with the Malphite?
Yeah, what's the plan with the Malphite? Mecha Malphite, it's a cool skin, not as cool as Glacial Malphite because your hand is a sword, but this one's okay too.
What will this Malphite contribute? Malphite's a pretty linear champion, all about the ultimate, that unstoppable force.
Oh yeah.
Getting onto the backline. That's why OQ couldn't go for the Vayne, couldn't go for the Ashe. You need something with that instant reposition and, of course, the flash to be safe against a Malphite.
True.
My question is, Malphite gets in there, maybe Hojin flashes in for the flash on Burrow. Where does the damage come from? Because Kuro, mostly going to be comfortable doing damage from range. Lucian going to do some decent bursts, but you can't really skip through this front line from Najin either. So,
well, if it's like all of my solo Q games, that Malphite's just going to go straight up AP, and then he's just going to blow people up.
He has 7 AP. That's probably from Runes and Masteries, though. So I don't mean to dash your hopes. It could, of course, be Haunting Guys.
Don't dash my hopes.
It's a Ruby Crystal, so it could be Haunting Guys. There is some benefit to going early Magic Pen, but against a Gnar, you're going to be really eating a lot of auto attacks, so it's unlikely.
Oh, my hopes are dashed. How dare you?
Sorry.
Looks like no lane swaps for these teams. A Krug start for Hojin. And, or Gromp start, rather. Krug start for Watch. Can't mix up your Gromps and Krugs, you know.
So Prey goes for the lane freeze, then finds out it's just standard 2v2 action. Gorilla's on a trademark champion, but another champion that really requires him to sit in lane and peel for Prey. And a lot of the success KOO has had this season is when Gorilla specifically has been unleashed. Remember, we mentioned the statistic has a 10% higher average kill participation. Man, those trades from Prey, they're really chunking out pure.
Yeah, that's the idea. I mean, they're trying to do something to push this lane back, I suppose, and Prey, you know, doing his best OQ impression with this solution right now, but can you really do an OQ impression in front of OQ himself? expect it to turn out well.
I mean, at some point, you have to think that Prey's denying the Lucian away from OQ. He's 8-3, he's been dominant on this champion.
Wow, and Prey just takes a ton of damage right there, too. So just like that, Life Total's brought back up to even for both of these duos.
I mean, the trades are very bursty, but of course, Pio's going to do a lot more damage in lane. Okay.
Oh, Dongjun, the caster, and he's casting into, I will assume, what is a carrot? Right? Because of the Fizz pick?
Could have been a microphone, I guess, but...
Could have been. Could have, yeah. Either a microphone or carrot. Definitely one of those things.
Carrot on a stick, one way or the other.
Go with those. All right, well.
Waiting to see the junglers. Actually, they're going to meet on the minimap.
Yep. Watch going into Hojin. He does have that early dueling advantage. The Rift Sculler taking the opportunity to get away.
The coward.
Go, Rift Sculler, go!
The Rift coward doing his thing.
That's true. But you got to root for the underdog, you know, or the undercrab, I guess.
So you're rooting for the KOO Tigers?
No, I just meant the Rift Sculler.
That's bad.
It is sad, though, to see the KOO Tigers doing like this. Wow, Goon takes a lot of damage. Got to be careful, though. Here comes the jungler. Goon, can you get the gold card off? Not quite. Got to be careful, too. That's a lot of damage. They don't know where Hojin is right now. Well, now they do, but...
KOO doesn't have Ignite, so he can be a little bit tricky, but as you mentioned, being a bit overconfident with his life total.
Yeah.
No, has put a second point into Q, so it won't be the W max from Duke this time out. You're probably expecting Magic Resist stacking from Smeb anyway, given the fact it's at least Twisted Fate, Corki, Annie, almost exclusively magic damage, especially in the early game.
Yeah, I mean, but you mentioned earlier, too, with a Malphite, you really want to be building that armor, because he benefits so much more from that, but Smeb might not get a whole lot of use out of that this game.
You definitely want to prioritize it where you can. It's just obviously not really a viable decision when you see magic damage stacked to the extent that Najin is here.
I'm trying to think if we saw any other Malphites this season. I don't think we have. If we did, it was probably at support or something.
I'm almost certain this is our first Malphite.
Yeah.
Champion that's been out of the meta for a very long time. Players like Wicked like to try and work it in with his Trinity Force builds once upon a time.
I'm just thinking like the spring season. I'm like, yeah, Tucson probably played it at support at some point. He played pretty much every champion at support in the spring season.
I mean, between the LPL and champions, basically every champion is in competitive play. There was even a Garen at one point.
There was even a Quinn.
That's true. Quinn and Garen, both represented.
But both in China.
They do it differently over there, Doa.
They do indeed. Do you miss it?
You know, sometimes.
Yeah, I suppose. I see some of those games sometimes like, wow, that's a bloodthirsty region over there.
That's a play-by-play caster's dream.
I get a bit envious, I'm not going to lie.
Some of those team fights, good fun.
Then again, I'm like, but I have Faker in my region. Then I feel better.
That was the only trump card at the start of the season, but hasn't it been nice to see the growth of, the return of a player like Prey that, was a bit of a heartwarming story in spring, and now we see the rise of players like Duke. The level of talent in terms of star names certainly wasn't there at the start of the year, but now new stars have risen as we come towards playoffs.
I mean, that's what Korea does in esports, right? They know how to produce stars. I mean, they've done it in multiple games for well over a decade now, and the Chinese exodus certainly did set things back a little bit, but it seems like Korea's recovering quite quickly and quite nicely.
We're in a world where EDG might not even make it to Worlds.
Yeah, EDG, just shortly before this broadcast, 3-0'd by LGT.
It's a crazy world we live in.
It is crazy. We have stuff like top Fizz picks that make no sense, and now there's a Malphite.
I mean, Fizz top picks that made no sense was purely an LPL thing until someone like Shy came along and decided he was going to pick Fizz every game, and now...
Shy really did bring it into Korea, didn't he?
Smeb.
3 games in a row there.
Don't know what to say about the Fizz pick in the first game. Certainly done a number on by Shan.
I can think of a lot of things to say about it.
Maybe not broadcast.
No, I don't think so. Well, Smeb pushed back in lane a little bit here, but still managing to keep up in CS more or less.
He's just going to free hit. It's a range versus melee matchup. You know how this goes. You could sub in Teemo or any other annoying top lane range champions. Brady takes a lot of burst.
He does indeed. There's a knockup from Gorilla, though. OQ needs to be careful himself as well. Trade ends up being pretty even, maybe even slightly over to the KOO side.
It's just much more reliable to harass with the Lucian Q than it is with the slow-moving Phosphorus Bomb from Corki.
Yep. Used to be a much faster ability.
It was instant at one point.
Yep, doesn't get much faster than that.
Nope. It's a reason why Annie's so popular. Instant cast spells, whether they have CC effects or just burst damage, always a priority.
It is pretty nice. So some of the wards are discovered by Watch there in the river, so Najin knows that that's not going to be an approach they can really go for, and it really looks like KOO is doing a better job in game 2 of at least keeping things competitive.
Things were pretty even the very early game last time. It was just the first Dragon fight that really decided the game. When the comp that was built for Dragon control missed out on it, it just snowballed further and further in the advantage of Najin. So we will be happy with the fact that it's been a quiet early game. They're against Twisted Fate at least, which has a lot of pick pressure. I mean, the Destiny's only been achieved, but if that first Destiny specifically doesn't get Najin any sort of advantage, that's definitely a pass mark for KOO in the early game.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the crucial moment here is can they get Goong rolling? Annie coming in the bottom lane again, waiting for OQ to get back after going back and picking up that Phage. So going for the Phage first instead of the Sheen, what do you think about that? Just wants a little bit more health, I suppose, a little bit more speed in this matchup. Makes sense. It's
the safer choice. You also have to worry about the potential of the Unstoppable Force and Malphite teleport gangs to come in. Sheen is definitely the trading option, and Phage, it's the safe defensive option. And in general, the laning phase has been going towards Braze, so need to be defensive when, in effect, you opted into a lane counter. Lucian definitely wins the laning phase 2v2 against a KOO.
Whoa! That Malphite skin burrows underground when it recalls. That's awesome, man.
Mecha Malphite.
You know, I own that skin, but I don't think I've ever actually played a game with it, which is sad because I used to play a ton of Malphite.
It's not been a popular pick. Solo queue, competitive play, certainly fallen away. One of those old champions that, look, he still does the one thing he does well. He still initiates well. It's just question marks on what he really contributes outside of slowing attack speed and a big ultimate.
It's just Alistar does what he does all the time, and Malphite can only do it once every couple minutes.
It's true. Alistar has about an 11-second cooldown on his Unstoppable Force, and Malphite has a 90-second one. That's not really fair.
Pretty much. I used to play a lot of jungle Malphite, actually. That's where I was playing him the most. Way back when.
Good old
Season
days.
3.
What were you jungling against back in those days? An Udyr? A Warwick?
Dude, it was like a lot of Shaco and Master Yi because I was still playing on Korea. But mostly a lot of Shaco. Some Fiddlesticks back then.
How times change.
Lee Sin. That's true. Well, Lee Sin is always around, but everything else, yeah. Pretty different.
No team has really exerted a lot of control around Dragon just yet. Pretty neutral warding from both sides, although a pink sticking from Watch so far.
Yeah. Duke's about to go Mega Gnar. Decides to hold off, stay back. He knows there might be a fighter on Dragon pretty soon. The fact that he's Mega Gnar right now may actually cause a little bit of a problem for Najin.
I mean, there's no pink wards in the area. The sweepers aren't available. Like, no one's actually posturing towards taking the Dragon, so although that might usually be a window, not one that either team is looking to take advantage of just yet.
Ah, okay. Well, Watch coming down to the bot lane. So are a few members of the KOO Tigers, though. Looks like they were thinking about maybe going for a dive, but not going to find that opportunity.
And Watch was spotted with the Tremor Sense.
Yep.
Surprisingly quiet laning phase when we're talking about Elise versus Rek'Sai in terms of jungle pressure.
Or a game with OQ in it.
True. I mean, OQ's been, you know, actually behind Prey. Prey, to his credit, has been winning this laning phase.
Yeah.
He had the preferential matchup and wasn't able to win Lucian versus Ashe, but this time around, certainly doing his thing. Not a landslide lead by any means, but...
Well, there we go. Stun down onto Prey, trying to get away. Another stun comes in from Annie, and that's first blood going to OQ. Very nice. Got the gold card in on him. Then he got the stun from the Annie Q, I believe it was.
And the first Destiny Doa. Looks like it's probably going to be Dragon as well, although at least looks to be relieving pressure instead.
And Goong,
has to cancel the teleport. Okay.
Yeah, well, that gravity field went down right on the turret, so he didn't want to end up back in that. And Najin has to come up to save their mid lane instead of go for the Dragon. Wow, Smev is really low right now.
It was good map movement by Hojin and KOO. As you mentioned, the gravity field was put down, and that was the equivalent of teleporting into top lane when you're under-leveled and getting dived instantly. He would have been dived and killed. This is Twisted Fate. We're talking about some of the lowest base stats in the game, so crucially his turret doesn't go down, but it comes damn close.
And that little move right there actually saved KOO Tigers from losing that first Dragon to Najin, I think.
Hojin's coming in.
Coming from behind. Duke in a lot of trouble here. Oh boy, what does Duke do? Tries to get away here. There's the shield, but there's no way he's escaping out of this. Nope, there's a kill. Going over to Hojin, he was just pushed up way too far.
But of course, that with Gorilla specifically being seen on the top side, even though KOO is able to poke out Goong, it should be the first Dragon to Najin.
Yeah, it looks that way. I don't think Prey can stop this. Not 1v4.
Be careful with the leash. Definitely don't want to releash at this point.
I think that's a pretty good trade then. Trading Duke for the first Dragon. I'd be happy with that.
Crucially, they haven't lost that mid lane turret. If TF loses mid lane turret, even if it was as a receipt for a successful first use of Destiny. It's just not an effective trade.
Yeah.
We've seen so many times, Faker in particular on this Victor, take down the enemy out of turret, just use that Q movement speed to rotate between lanes, and even though TF's able to instantly respond to ganks, Victor quick enough to make his way between lanes and become an impact. So keep him anchored into that lane at any cost.
Well, we've seen what a big problem it causes for TF when that mid turret goes down early. And so far, Najin's been able to sustain that, and they've got a tiny little gold lead out of it, too.
It's going to be the standard split push build coming through from KOO. We see a lot of players actually most recently dropping off the CDR boots and just prioritizing Lichbane and Sheen over anything else. Gives a bit more wave clear of the ability power.
Yeah.
The mana coming through from the Sheen also means that if your blue buff's contested, which often is the case when you're a champion like Twisted Fate, who doesn't really skirmish that well in a 2v2 sense. So, you know, it gives him some laning stats. He just tries to stay competitive in mid.
So would you say Gnar would be able to have a pretty effective split push against Malphite as well? I think we've got kind of a 1-3-1 coming in for Najin.
I mean, it comes to the point where you get enough items that you can kind of ignore the trade damages coming through as Hojin.
Oh, that's a lot of damage onto Hojin. Wow, Watch just all over him. He's got to be careful, though. Here comes Kuro. Watch actually think about flashing Eureka calls. And there we go, bringing Tibbers in. There's a gold card onto Kuro. Teleport coming down for the KOO Tigers. Gorilla ults pushing people away. Watch taking some damage from the Chaos Storm. Can Najin catch up? Whoa! Smeb comes back in with the Unstoppable Force, and there's a kill for Kuro. Man, Najin walked right into the choke. And KOO turning and grabbing a couple kills. I cannot believe they forgot Malphite's ultimate existed.
That's a massive mistake from Najin. Why are they face-checking a Malphite and a Victor who could just lay down AoE? It was a beautiful layering of damage. They had no vision in that area, no reason to. What was the incentive? They weren't going to pick up kills. No one was super low.
That's the thing about Malphite right now. The reason he's not played is because he's only good if the other team makes a mistake. And man, what a mistake this Najin team makes right here. Look at this. Oh, come on, guys. We can catch him. Uh-oh, wait a second. Malphite has a huge ultimate that knocks everybody out.
So there was a ward in that bush that timed out just as this fight happened, but why are they not respecting the initiation potential of Malphite? Okay, you don't play against this champion much, but if you remember one thing about Malphite, it's the rocky exterior and the ultimate. There's nothing else significant about that champion.
Well, KOO teleports up to top lane. They're going to try to dive Smeb here. Pure Zero should be an easy kill. Yep, they will get it. Duke takes a little bit of turret damage, so there's a nice response by Najin, but they played so carefully in game number 1. And now we see something like this. That's not a mistake that Najin can make too many times unless they want to play a blind pick game 3.
They just have players who are aggressive, though. They have players who play well with confidence. The likes of OQ and Duke like to have their tails up. They're sort of people that pop up their collars and try to be, you know, that kind of person. And look, sometimes they pay for it.
Do you want to really be that type of person that pops their collar? Oh, there goes mid-turret. I don't think I want to be that type of person.
Well, some people get away with it.
I don't know. All right, Kuro takes out the mid lane turret, and that will, like we said, make it a bit more difficult for KOO to try to find ways to make plays on the map. At least they get the tier 1 up in top as well, too. So turrets are even between these teams. Gold is dead even right now. And that slight dragon advantage still going to Najin the Empire.
Some big item timings coming in. OQ just now finishes his Trinity Force and the Vamp Scepter. So big power spike coming through from the Corki, the well-known Trinity Force power spike. We'll see if he'll be just going to stay around the bottom lane and try and push in this outer turret. If they can get it down, they'll get a bit more dragon control. They already have the first dragon again. KOO have picked a comp that really wants to strive to control dragon, but it's been all Najin so far.
Yeah, so now I feel like we're at another really crucial point in this game, you know, where Najin, they kind of need to either take this dragon or win a team fight around it, you know?
That's what Najin's looking to do. KOO just needs to start answering, though. They've won a couple of skirmishes, but they're just trying to play around the Twisted Fate. Oh, to a big extent. They just want a
good rotation to mid. They'll get this turret.
Yeah, they're making the direct play. They have the inside line, and everyone else is slow to react from Najin.
Yeah, well, they've got Smeb there as well. Looks like there might be a flank coming in. Duke coming down, but no, I don't think that's going to work. Duke going back up to the top lane already. Neither top laner is going to have teleport by the time the dragon comes up, I think. It's going to be really close.
Because Smeb walked down, doesn't have teleport as you mentioned, they're able to get in the aggressive vision, clear out the pink wards, and just set themselves up for this second dragon. KOO really need it, because again, their late game damage, it's purely Kuro and Prey, and you think they're going to be outclassing the damage just because of the fact that there's incidental damage from all 5 members on the Najin side.
Yeah. I wonder if going to be able to take this one. I'm also really wondering if the TPs are going to be up. Looks like the TPs actually might come up a little bit before Dragon Wheel for both top laners.
It's about a 4-minute timer if they teleported onto a turret, so it's about a minute, so I imagine they'll be about 20 to 30 seconds behind. So expecting some people to group. It's usually the first team to send down their members and put down their wards is the team that gets the advantage. Of course, Scuttle Crab was cleared out at the right time, so there will be guaranteed vision from KOO Tigers around the Dragon area.
20 seconds now until that Dragon. Smeb pushing back the top lane as Duke signals that he's going to go up there and clear. Yeah, the teleports will be after the Dragon, that's true.
Goong hasn't committed to split push or team fight. Remember, he has an inner slide rod, so it could still be the Zhonya's rush after the Sheen for some semblance of backline threat. It is KOO on the Victor with Cleanse, so he's hard to lock down against Lucian, who has a dash. So
yeah, but if you can catch Prey or you can catch Gorilla, you're still going to be in pretty good shape. Gorilla's Janna is probably the best Janna in Korea.
I mean, the only way that Najin really struggle in the late game is if they give KOO the ascendancy around Dragon. So maybe opting into a team fight build from TF is the right move.
All right, here we come. Duke actually pretty close to Meganar. Dragon getting lower. Pure looking for an angle to drop that Tibbers down. He's going to do it right about now. And the Dragon actually goes over to the KOO Tigers. Will Najin win the fight, though? Pure gets taken out immediately. Duke, not Meganar yet. There he is. Can he get the back line? So doesn't look like it. Looks like KOO are going to get away.
And 2 fights in a row. Najin have been really dodgy at communicating around fights. Yeah. Firstly, face-checking a Malphite. Now this fight, beautiful flash tippers from Pure, but no one was on the same wavelength. Well, they don't commit with him, and Annie just dies for free.
Yeah, the Meganar was a bit late for Duke. I feel like if that would have been a little bit quicker, they could have had a big team fight, but it was a big team fight for the KOO Tigers. They've been able to get a decent lead here in gold and actually tie things up in Dragons. Will they lose their turret, though?
Big thing is, though, you have that information, it's clear, whether it's the visual indicator of Na's Rage Bar or just the comms.
Yeah.
Pure should not be flash tibbersing if the rest of the team's not ready for it.
Certainly not.
I'm not sure where the communication problems have started, just because they were so clean in game 1.
It's because they had OQ initiating with the arrow.
That's true.
When OQ wants to fight, he fights.
You can't have OQ moments if you get to decide when every fight starts.
It's true. Speaking of OQ, he's got his Trinity Force done now. So he's pretty close to that power spike. I just wonder what Goong is going to get here. I feel like the Zhonyas would be a good way to go if Najin wants to try to fight their way to a lead here.
He's been sitting on these item timings for a long time. The fun thing about Twisted Fate as a champion is that you get a window into his team's playstyle by what he commits to as his first finished item. If he gets the Zhonyas, it's team fight time. If it's Lich Bane, let's just keep split pushing. So we're very close to finding out exactly where Najin see their power for the next 10 minutes or so.
Pretty much.
Not rushing to shop, though.
Yeah, so far, though, just kind of pushing up all the lanes. Taking it easy here.
Awkwardly, Corki hasn't got the outer turret despite having the Trinity Force for a long time. Doesn't have the ward coverage to even feel safe in trying to DPS it down. So just going to back away. Always awkward when Corki's anchored into a lane despite having such a big power spike with the Trinity Force in particular.
Yeah, we'll see what he does. Looks like he's going to go for actually Cutlass before Boots, too.
Interesting. Huh. Usually, Blade of the Ruin King's a favorite pickup by a lot of AD carries, specifically when you're dealing with melee carries. And with the Rek'Sai and the Malphite, it makes some semblance of sense. Although, how important is the Blade of the Ruin King active against a Malphite? Kind of debatable.
Sure.
Steal back the movement speed he steals from you.
Yeah, that's right. Take it back. And that turret's getting taken out. Tigers with a turret lead now.
The answer comes through from Goong. They're looking to team fight.
Yep, he's got the Zhonya's Hourglass, just finished that one. Can they find those team fights they're looking for, though? It's been very, very iffy so far.
I mean, their communication needs to be a lot better, though. Once they've committed to this Zhonya's, they're looking for backline threat, and that requires Duke to be on point with his Rage Bar to just assist with Goong, because there's Cleanse onto KOO. It's already hard to lock down Lucian in the backline. They, of course, have Janna for Peel. There's split-second timing windows that Najin needs to take advantage of to justify this item buy. Otherwise, it might just be a poor investment in gold.
All right, finally, that bottom turret goes down in favor of Najin. Able to tie that up at least and get some sort of vision of their opponent's jungle here.
Najin's going to keep pushing.
Yeah, they are.
Gorilla's the only one responding, and he has no real wave clear.
Good damage onto this turret here, too. Gorilla with a nice shield to at least keep it safe for now.
It's not a lot of damage in the end. 2 pink wards invested around.
Oh, Rek'Sai coming in. Pure could be caught here, and Najin can't save him. Pure just completely caught in the enemy jungle. Not the wisest place to path back through, it looks like. Didn't even get any wards down.
But they drew out a teleport with no other objective to pick up. They've already taken out both outer turrets in the bottom side of the map. So that's a big investment, and it will leave them in kind of a mismatch situation where Duke's already had the pushing advantage over Smeb, but now Smeb can't even just park himself in top and try and dissuade Duke from just taking all the outer turrets. It's a window. It's the first window Najin's been granted to take advantage of. So we'll see if they can spend the next couple of minutes prepping these waves around top. Because look, they're sending Lucian to answer the Nas whip push. Dragon's up in a minute 40, and Smeb has to stay grouped with his team if they're going to fight for that objective.
Yeah, pretty much.
And for any other significant item buys, watch. Definitely not had a lot of economy this game. Behind in CS, no kill involvement, firing his own death. Doesn't have the Aegis. Just now finished up. That could be significant because Smeb, he's got the Abyssal Scepter. Now you're countering the 20 magic penetration with that aura, and specifically, Smeb's probably not going to build any more damages. So getting rid of those high base damages stops the Malphite burst from being just as significant a factor as it was in that first team fight around Dragon.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. So it's going to be really dependent on Smeb getting the knockup with the ultimate, right? He needs to have a good initiation. And I feel like Najin really learned, they should have learned their lesson in that first team fight. We'll see if they have or not, but when they walked into that brush and had a couple people get knocked up, I think that was maybe a bit of a wake-up call to Najin.
It just feels like one of the reasons we haven't seen a lot of Malphite in the last couple of years is that because he's so linear as a champion, he does one thing, and he does a very simple thing.
Does it feel like it's fair to say it requires the other team to make a mistake?
I think so, just because you know the unstoppable force range. You even know how to account for flash unstoppable force. You get a feel for exactly where you can position and where you can't. So if you have all that information, Malphite shouldn't be a threat. It requires you to make a misplay, as you mentioned, specifically around vision. And KOO don't have a stranglehold in this game to get exclusive vision around Dragons. So Najin, specifically with Destiny, right, they can just pop that whenever there's something to check, right? They should never be in a position where Smeb gets an ult specifically onto either Goong or OQ.
I didn't even think of that, but with Destiny, they can just find out where Malphite is, even if they don't have a single ward on the map. That's a very good point. KOO going for their second dragon, though, and they're going to get it.
But look at Duke up top. Remember, there's no teleport available. Back away, Pure.
Oh, Pure in big trouble. Flashes to get out of that one. Dragon does go to the KOO Tigers, and nearly a pick onto Pure again.
I mean, honestly, Pure dying or bowing his flash is pretty equivalent in terms of effect onto Najin, because an Annie without flash is very, very useless in any sort of a team fight situation. Najin were already looking to opt into trading an inner turret.
Oh, they barely can't get that turret. Oh, boy. Looks like KOO wants to do something. There's a gold card onto Hojin, but nobody else there. It's just for the disengage.
That was actually Goong was very smart there. He was trying to look tasty to buy time for Na to walk straight back up the top lane and not actually give away his life either.
Right. Now OQ trying to push up bot lane, and Smeb is there. The lurking Malphite.
Base damages from Malphite can't be ignored, specifically when he's not around the Aegis.
Yeah. Oh, that rocket barely didn't hit him. OQ actually thinks he's not there because he shot that rocket in. Oh boy, oh boy. All right, here comes the rest of him. OQ's in big trouble, guys. There it is, the unstoppable force, and OQ just gets destroyed. He shot the rocket in, and it was like 1 pixel away from hitting Smeb. That was just a bit of bad luck there from OQ, but I guess you could argue he didn't check the bush properly.
And that's just an OQ moment and something that's been so sparing this season. OQ actually has the lowest percentage of team deaths on his team, and that's a guy that would go crazy and miss position, once a series back in the spring season. He's been so much smarter around that. Look at this mini-map. There were no blue wards in the area pushed past the river. Why is he over there thinking he can just get free damage onto an inner turret? It's just poor communication once again from Najin.
And this is really weird because, or this is really Najin, I should say, because Game 1 was so tight and so methodical, and Game 2 has been pretty sloppy overall, right, from the beginning. So I don't know what's going on, man. I mean, this is why Najin is a hard train. It's a hard hype train to jump on, you know?
And Game 2 started like Game 1 ended. Remember, Najin made a pretty sloppy engage when they were 14,000 gold ahead, but won anyway because they were so far ahead. Now, this is the same Najin we're seeing. They're just playing too cute around objectives and not respecting very clear things, like, for example, the threat of the unstoppable force.
Yeah. It's really silly, actually, how many poignant engages Smeb has been able to get with this ultimate.
Take a champion out of the meta for a while. I mean, Clearlove, of course, brought back Evelyn in the MSI final, and then there was that big resurgence when everyone's picking Evelyn, because teams kind of forget, wait, how do we play against Evelyn? Oh, ward camps, okay. Like, you forget those statistics. You'd think a champion as linear as Malphite would stay sold regardless of whether we saw him in or out of the meta, but this game has shown us very clearly the answer is Malphite apparently weird and wonderful despite only having one thing he can do.
I guess, you know. What else can you say, right? Najin trying to push up this bottom lane again, and they're getting a few wards into the enemy jungle. Right now, KOO definitely with the vision advantage as they've got a couple wards, one in Try down the bottom and one up by the blue buff. Very strong places to put wards. A little bit of damage from the culling coming in from Prey.
1-3-1, certainly in effect from Najin.
Prey's got that QSS as well, too, so it's going to be really hard for the gold card from Goong to actually do anything here. Oh, Goong has to pop that Destiny.
Doesn't try to channel it because, of course, the Unburrow would have interrupted it, but
yeah,
Hojin knows what's up.
Oh, yeah. Yep, but getting that ultimate out of the way is a big deal. Just another small win for the KOO Tigers. We may actually be going to a Game 3 here.
And a blind pick as well.
I know.
Najin.
WTF 2 Lucians.
That almost certainly is going to be the case. Are you ready for the Lucian Cannon mirror match?
I know, the double shins. Oh boy, well, Tibbers goes down on the Gorilla to get some damage in. You're still in a lot of trouble with the Chaos Storm. Najin already having to back off. There goes Watch, there goes Gorilla, and KOO just too strong right now. I mean, there's just no follow-up for Najin. Duke tries to get in the back, but where's everybody else? Goong coming in, five-man Gnarled, but where's the damage? I don't even think they can do it. OQ throwing in a couple rockets, but they take down Duke, and that is it. Another team fight win for the KOO Tigers. They're going to take out nearly everybody. Only OQ surviving that one. I mean, five-man Gnarls are certainly impressive, but it was way too late in the fight to do anything. He probably shouldn't have even tried to engage there. I mean, Najin is just falling apart in this game.
And KOO Tigers, the one thing you can say about Smeb and Hojin, they're damn tanky. They're just completely ignoring all the damage. A five-man Gnar ultimate, it just wasn't a big factor. This is going to be the Baron, and I can't believe it, but the KOO Tigers, they're still in this series.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. I mean, we see the Flash Tippers engage, gets cleansed immediately by Prey. All right, you back off there, but
it feels super squishy, and unfortunately the front line, the likes of Annie and Elise, who are the champions that are being the most forward, are super squishy. Now Duke makes the transformation. This is a beautiful five-man Gnar ultimate and stun. But it doesn't matter because OQ and Goong, they can't contribute damage because the front line's too damn strong from KOO.
Yeah, I mean, and both Kuro and Prey have cleanses in one form or another. I mean, you're just not going to get any hard CC on them at this point.
Malphite's going to win, though.
I know. I mean, I like Malphite, but still, man, this is it's just crazy. I mean, it's for such a one-dimensional champion to have such an effect. It's not something you see very often, and it's just doubly surprising because of how good Najin looked in game number 1.
Yeah, a lot of the advantages to the KOO Tigers were granted by Najin this game rather than manufactured by hard work from KOO. They didn't respect the power of Malphite and the picks. They didn't respect. They walked into a brush that wasn't warded against a Malphite. You never do that.
I think Najin looked very complacent in this early game against KOO after how game number 1 went. You can't really blame them for a bit of complacency, but you really can't underestimate any team in this tournament, as KOO is proving right now.
Najin Hype Train was in full gear, not what, half an hour ago, and suddenly people might be looking to refund their tickets.
Pretty derailed at the moment, but there still is one more game. And to be fair, with a really poor team fight, maybe they can come back, but I think there's just too much tankiness on the KOO Tigers. Yeah, look at this. Have the Baron buff pushing right in for that inhibitor.
Yeah, Smeb's just looking for the dive. We're going to see Kuro flash aggressively, most likely the moment that an unstoppable force is channeled.
It seems pretty unlikely that Najin's going to be able to win this game.
In the late game, KOO Tigers will have damage issues. It's only purely Kuro and Prey for damage, whereas everyone Najin is a pseudo-damage dealer. But with the Aegis completed, Madra is stacking coming through from Smeb. The reality is that right now, nobody on Najin does damage to either Smeb or Hojin.
Yeah. And now, KOO Tigers up 3 dragons to 1, too. And they're going to go right up to that top lane, it looks like. Oh, Goong Has to gate out of there. That's the second time in a row he's had to use his Gate of Destiny to just escape.
Yeah, Najin are trying the 1-3-1, but the big issue with the 1-3-1 though is that KOO just move as a 5-man unit, and Alistar just the same as Malphite. If you're trying to defend with 3 members, he's just going to dive you with the Unstoppable Force and tank the turret, and they're going to pick up a win. So the 1-3-1 right now is completely neutered by Najin.
Pretty much.
What's left is the question.
Well, what's left is a methodical closing of the game that we saw from Najin in Game 1 and that we're starting to see from KOO Tigers in Game 2. Got a little while, but KOO being 4-0-4 is certainly a good thing.
It is. They picked up the last 3 dragons, finally reclaimed their spot as the team that has always been the master of dragon control.
Yeah.
Smashing down the turret. Smeb doesn't take damage at this point.
Watch could be in a bit of trouble. Yeah, there goes the turret. Watch repels, but where's he going to go? Straight back to the fountain via death.
Just deleted. Now they have no front line at all. Duke, situationally a tank at best. Remember, he's basically got Hex Drinker and Magic Resist items at this point. Prey is doing huge damage on the Lucian just because no armor really completed by Najin.
Yeah, nothing's really stopping Prey. They have no way to really get onto him. With the Gate of Destiny down, KOO can be just as aggressive as they want to be. Duke, Meganar throws a couple people into turret. This is the moment. Nice Timber stun. Goong locked up in the back line, so they need him for damage. He's going to get taken out by KOO. There's the Unstoppable Force coming in, and that is going to be it. That is game right there, guys. A clean ace. A triple kill from KOO. And the KOO Tigers look like they're ready to close this one out, going right for the Nexus turrets. They're just going to face tank it with Smeb. He's so tanky, he's going to be just fine.
It's only 33 minutes in, but the death timers are long enough. And off-screen, KOO just flashed and killed Twisted Fate after we already saw Elise fall down. And it's going to be the very unlikely win for the KOO Tigers.
Well, Najin got a bit complacent in the early game. They did not play well, and KOO Tigers really can't underestimate these guys. They've certainly got it in them to come back and win this series, and they won Game 2. We're going to blind pick. How about that?
That is not something I saw chatting to people during the break here. It looked like it was going to be an easy 2-0 for Najin, but KOO had other ideas about the script today.
Yeah, well, I mean, it all started with Najin walking into a brush where they could get ulted by a Malphite, and it was all downhill from there, and I have no idea. I'm not making any predictions for Game 3. It's blind pick, whole different group of strategic elements for both of these teams, and with the way Najin played, I don't know who's going to take it.
The Malphite in particular did so much work, Doa. But was it the Malphite pick, or was it the disrespect